Heidi Ellsworth, an RCS partner, and today I am so excited to have John DeRosa from SRS Distribution on the line. I know he's going to give me one of these things, but we've been kind of stalking each other on webinars for most of our careers, and so to be together on video this morning and to be able to ask you a bunch of questions, John, this is kind of a highlight. So thank you for being here.
You just have to promise you're not going to upstage me again this time, you know? You have to outshine me.
No. You're the star of the show this morning. So we are just, so much has been going on with COVID and the sheltering in, and really, I know SRS has been right in the middle of really helping contractors and making things happen. So before I want to welcome everybody who's going to be they're going to be asking questions. So just as a reminder to everyone out there, please go to your chat box and to your question box, ask John questions. Megan is in the background, Megan Ellsworth, and she will bring you on as a panelist or ask your questions for you, whatever your comfort zone. So, but before we get to those questions, John,
yeah.
For the few people, one or two out there who may not know who you are, can you give just a little bit of your history in roofing and your who you are, your background?
Yeah, so I would say back in 2006, I think it was, I was, very unhappy as a regional sales manager on the window side of the home improvement industry. And I had done a couple tours of duty with different window manufacturers. And it's kind of interesting. I got a call from a recruiter one day who says, hey, I think I got an opportunity for you. And I go, well, what is it? And he says, well, it's roofing. And I went, roofing? My gosh, I'm in the window industry, I'm like top of the food chain. And he had to kind of convince me that roofing was a really good industry. And I'm actually glad he did. I took a position with ICO back in 2007 as a regional sales manager in the Northeast that quickly morphed into a kind of a contractor development program, and I traveled around the country for several years with them, just doing seminars and training and kind of helping contractors get to an even higher level of success, and then made the decision that I wanted to work at the distribution level, and really SRS was the only company that I would ever consider doing that with. It was a fantastic move. And that's what I've been doing. I mean, I currently work in the marketing department at SRS Distribution, and my role involves customer experience management as well as training and development, really as a value add. I mean, we're committed to customer success, so I think they see me as a resource that can kind of go out and help customers really shore up on some of their weaknesses for the benefit of achieving whatever it is that they want to accomplish as an organization. So it's been a great ride. I've been with SRS now for about 4 years and never looked back.
Yeah, you and I have through ICO, and I was with Carlisle and Eagleview, and the things that we've done, we've seen that in the past, there wasn't as much of a focus on really helping the contractors grow their business. But that's what you're doing. You are there to help them grow their business because it's this whole mentality of win-win. So maybe just talk a little bit more about that, because I just love that for the contractors.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? And I mean, I remember when I first talked to Dan Tinker, who's our president and CEO, and we talked about me coming on board with SRS, I said to him, I go, Dan, I really don't want to be a guy that's like traveling around the country with an SRS sandwich board on, talking about, our services and our products. And he's like, no, that's not what we want. I think we all realize that we have a vested interest in the success of our customers. I mean, it's not completely selfless, right? I mean, if we help customers capture a larger share of the market and they're more profitable doing that, then that paves the way for us to sell them more stuff, and they become have a better cash position, and they can pay us more quickly, and it's sort of like this feeds the cycle. It's really powerful. But I think the real nod needs to go to the contractor community, because they're not people that just kind of sit on their hands and wait for the industry to kind of change. I think there's a lot of people out there, and we're even seeing that now with this COVID crisis, where a lot of people are really stepping up and saying, okay, now's the time. I can either stick my head in the sand and wait for this thing to end, or I can figure out how can I proactively get better. And what's amazing, My phone is ringing off the hook. I'm busier than I've ever been. And it's really about people just saying, hey, help me develop my company story. Help me shore up my presentation. Can we work with my salespeople to, on the sales process? And, I have a lot of fun doing that. I mean, it's a fun job. And I think, our contractors are getting better as a result of that. So it's great stuff.
Yeah, I've been seeing the exact same thing. It is so busy. I've never been as busy in my whole career as I've been in the last 8 weeks. And you can really see that American spirit and people stepping up and saying, you know what, we are going to make the best of this. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to come out the other side even stronger. So along that lines, kind of with your travels and all those phone calls that you're getting, what are you seeing around the country? What are you seeing from the contractors and hearing from them?
I think that what they're starting to realize is now's a really good time to work on that, to-do list. And what's funny is like when I'll do a seminar, we'll have guys that'll leave the event, and it'll be a full day, sales workshop, if you will, and guys will say, man, I took 7 pages worth of notes, which I go, wow, that's great, and I always say, just focus on one thing. And they always look at me kind of funny, and they go, what do you mean I got 7 pages worth of notes? And I go, yeah, I get that, but the noise of life is going to prevent you from accomplishing many of those tasks. So let's just focus on one thing. I think we have an execution problem with a lot of our customers from the standpoint where they have really good ideas. They know what it is that they need to work on, but it's kind of like they sort of should all over themselves. I should overcome objections. I should, develop a system or a process. I should make, referrals a more consistent part of my lead gen program. But the problem with shoulds is that they only do it when it's convenient, and convenience doesn't create a level of consistency that makes them good at it. And if you're going to be good at something, you got to do it a lot. So what we're seeing is a lot of people are calling to call back and say, hey, back in 2009, I went to a seminar, we talked about this. Can you help me with that? And that's good stuff, because that's the stuff that when the market starts to come back, they're going to be stronger, faster, better, and we all win, right? So that's kind of the stuff we're saying.
Well, I've been seeing the same exact thing, and I think that what I'm really seeing are the contractors who are actually putting those processes in place, like you said, taking those one things and putting them in place, but also incorporating technology and really looking at how are we going to do things different. It just cannot stay the same. And I know that I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but this just goes so perfect. I know everything that you're doing with the hub and technology for the contractors. What are you, I've been hearing adoption rates are over, so much further ahead than they've ever been. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so Roof Hub's just been exploding, and we're seeing that not only are people embracing Roof Hub and utilizing it, as a productivity enhancement tool, and just also a tool that allows them to, practice good social distancing and maintain a strong, productive business relationship with SRS. We're also seeing, though, that some of the integration partners that we have, whether it be, Job Progress or GiddyUp from a CRM, business management software, a lot of contractors are starting to embrace, some of those other technologies too, which is really cool. I mean, I'm always shocked at just how, CRM averse our industry and, even technologically, just kind of, 10 years behind. I mean, I think the millennials are helping with that. You got a lot of the kids that are coming into the business these days, and they're kind of convincing their dads or their grandfather, hey, we need to really think about this.
Yes.
That's really helped. But Roof Hub is just been fantastic. I mean, we're seeing our order, I think they're saying somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 20% of our daily orders are coming in now electronically, which is really positive. And I think that speaks to, the need for social distancing. And I also think it speaks to the fact that there's a real solution there. I don't think contractors are going to completely change their processes and dive into a new tool and a new technology unless they see that there's some, measurable benefit that they're going to get from doing that. And Roof Hub makes it so easy for customers to order. I mean, literally to the point where, Roof Hub uses like bots, artificial intelligence that dives into the customer's order history and then it determines what are the items that this customer orders most from the branch, and it builds templates for them automatically, so they don't have to scroll through 60,000
Wow.
SKUs to build an order. It's really kind of cool. And even if the contractor chooses to change a line item on their order and says, hey, you know what, instead of using 15-pound felt, I want to use a synthetic felt. When they click on the synthetic felt category, there's a box that pops up that says Roof Hub recommends, and it's going to recommend the synthetic felt items that contractor has ordered most from the branch. So again, it's not going to say we have
Wow.
nationally 50 different CRMs or 50 different synthetic felts. It basically is, here's the ones that you bought most from us, and it allows them to just really keep things moving.
We do it every day in our real life, right? We're ordering off Amazon, we are ordering online constantly. And so I think going back to your comment about this next generation coming in to the roofing industry, and I think more women too, this is a great opportunity to be able to just go online, the processes, and order. It's just, to me, I think it's just been waiting to have that kick to make it happen, because we're already doing it in our everyday lives.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is now that we're a little bit slower, if that's the case, for some of our customers, I think they're taking deeper dives into the technology to explore options that they've always known were there, but they've just been too busy to kind of take advantage of. I mean, one interesting example is when we do our webinars, it's 1000% about the contractor's business. We're not getting them online to talk about our service, but we do have a sponsor. So if Roof Hub sponsors it, I might take 30 seconds at the beginning and just say, here's a couple of reasons why you need to use Roof Hub. So I actually talked about the fact that on one of these webinars that Roof Hub has a feature called Show Past Orders. So if you pull up a hail map, we have free hail maps on our desktop version, and then if somebody hits Show Past Orders, what it does is it dives into the customer's order history, and it will populate onto the map the delivery locations of every order that we've delivered for the customer over the past 5 years. And I've told this as, hey, now you can have an idea of like what past clients you have in the swath of the storm. And literally, like, I had customers after hail hit like Dallas, like emailing me and going like, oh my gosh, I checked this thing out and I've now got 7 leads for tomorrow, and I didn't have to knock the door. And it was all because of that feature. And it was almost like, hey, I didn't think that thing would really work. And then they realize it does, and they're thanking me for it. And that's the kind of stuff that, dive into that stuff and really figure out how do you leverage all this technology,
There's so much that's happening out there. So I do want to, we have a great group out there. And so I want to make sure that everybody it knows that they can ask questions. Go to the question box, be sure to ask them. But you just kind of took us to the next question that we had already that came in, and that's talking about the season, hail season, hurricane season coming up. What are some of the things that, we already have hail season. It's already happening, like you just said. It's already hitting the Midwest. Poor Tennessee has just been hit like crazy. What are some of the things that you're seeing how are the contractors dealing with both pandemic and the weather coming through, and how are they using the SRS services to kind of make that, to kind of get through it all?
Yes, I mean, the business today, unfortunately, is very different than it was, last year at this time. And I think that the good news is we've got some weather, and the weather is going to create, a demand, and it's also going to help, homeowners sort of avoid that cash flow crunch that so many are concerned about with, unemployment and job security and things like that. So if the insurance company is going to come in and they're going to replace the roof for everything but the cost of the deductible, I mean, that really puts the contractor in a great position to generate revenue. The challenge that we have is that, we're now being asked to do that from a safe distance. You can do that, but you have to be 6 feet apart. And how do you do that? So the old, I'm going to knock doors and walk the neighborhoods. I mean, that's a tough thing in some areas. I mean, I had a contractor in Ohio about a month ago call me up and go, dude, nobody's answering their doors. And I'm like, knocking doors?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Are you trying to get arrested? I mean, settle down." We need to think about some different ways to make contact with our customers and generate those leads. And I think, Heidi, we keep talking about technology. There's tons of tools out there that allow contractors to do that. We partnered up with Predictive Sales AI, which is a really powerful company that allows you to, sort of digitally door knock consumers through social media based on certain demographic data that you input in. I want to target these types of customers within this area of a storm. And then it very easily allows them to just text the homeowner a link. The homeowner clicks on the link, and then guess what? We're on a call together, and we're going to have our consultation. It takes it. Everything is done in a virtual environment, and that's really cool. I think the feature that I just described earlier about Roof Hub. And keep in mind, the Roof Hub application that SRS has created is really today, based on how do you interact with us and how do you manage all your material order needs with SRS distribution. But there are certain things that it does that can aid the contractor and the lead gen and the sales side of the business. And that show past orders button allows them to very easily go in. And I do believe that over the course of maybe the next week, we're going to actually have an export feature. So if you highlight the storm swath and choose all the customers that we've delivered to for you within that storm, you can then export all that data into a spreadsheet, which then allows you to very easily just start, picking up the phone and contacting these customers and saying, "Hey, we did your project, 2 years ago. We just had weather. We'd love to come out and schedule an inspection," and we can do it remotely. Here's the other thing, and I don't want to, necessarily keep talking on you here, but
no,
what we're also finding is that the contractors out there that are telling me that, yes, we've embraced the whole virtual sales consultation, system, right? So they're using Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever it is to have their sales interactions. What they're finding is they're not seeing any dip in their close rates. So they're saying that, hey, prior to COVID-19, I was closing 50% of the jobs or 60% of the jobs that I was bidding on. Now that I'm in a virtual environment, I'm still closing 50 to 60% of the jobs. But here's the key, is now in the pre-COVID-19, they were out there maybe running 3 leads a day. Now that they're doing it virtually, they're running 6 leads a day. And they're still closing 50%. So their revenue opportunity, they're just exploding. And they're finding that customers today are really open to the fact, people today are communicating with their family and their friends and in their jobs, they're being forced to get on a Zoom call. And now a contractor's saying, hey, we could do that. And homeowners are like, yeah, no. But the other thing that people need to think about is when COVID-19 goes away, I don't think that virtual, meeting thing is going to end. I think that customers are going to say, hey, we want to continue to do that. And they're going to leverage the whole keep your distance mindset, because I don't think many homeowners want contractors in their house. I'm sorry. That's no offense to any of the people that are on this call, but they really don't know you yet, right? What they do know is they know that the roofing industry is the least trusted business type, according to the Better Business Bureau. And now I'm going to invite this unknown roofer into my house. They're going to take advantage of social distancing norms to say, hey, can we do this virtually? Yeah. So our efforts to really, create a system and a process that lets customers know that we can do that in a safe way and still be productive, I think that's going to be a huge win for our customers. So I kind of went around to answer a very simple question, but I'm hoping that was, kind of what we were shooting for there.
Well, no, and honestly, I want to keep going on this because I just double checking our questions, but this to me is the change. This is what is going to change in our industry. And I think it's been coming on a long time. I'm Gen X. So, and the thought of someone coming in and sitting at my kitchen table with both my husband and I there and selling us just makes me ill. I'm like, no way, I don't want that, right? But the idea of actually talking to someone like this or talking to him on the phone, building that relationship first, I think this has started a long time before COVID. And I think this is the catalyst. So I agree with you 100%. And it's going to be so much more productive and enjoyable, I think, on both sides. We all love to meet other people and such, but kind of those days I think are gone, and the ability to have the research to be able to really understand ahead of time and then talk to someone like this. I mean, what you and I are doing right now is just so much more comfortable in a lot of ways. So how do you recommend the contractors, kind of the ones who are not doing it, how do they get started doing this?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you've got to put something on your website that says, hey, I mean, especially today, I mean, maybe not so much today, but a month ago, you know, we wanted to have something on our website that said, we are open for business. Here's how you can work with us. I think as things are starting to open up right now, it's still important that they have that on their website, but you also have the ability for the customer to interact with you in a virtual environment. So in that website listing that says, yes, we're open, you know, click here to learn more about our visual or a virtual, you know, sales consultation. They also need to just get comfortable with the technology. I mean, I have no skin in the Zoom game, but I've been using Zoom for all of my meetings. I know we're on, you know, GoToWebinar here. Those tools work. I would suggest, and this is something that we've actually been doing with a lot of our customers, is the sales reps will build their presentation and then they'll send me an invite and I'll role play with them as the customer so they can get comfortable with the technology. So it's like, let's run through your presentation. I want to see how you sell your inspection. I want to see how you sell your company. I want to know how you discuss pricing and present options. And we're really helping them sort of, you know, shore up on that so that when those opportunities do avail themselves, they're in the best position to, you know, maximize that opportunity. So practice, practice, practice. You know, one of the things that we've always suggested when we do our sales training is I'm a huge fan of the contractor developing some sort of a company story. I mean, they've got to sell, they've got to be able to answer the question, why should I trust you on the project? And people get a little bit like, you know, I don't really need to do all that. I'm referred, or, you know, I've been in the business for 20 years. And I think it's a mistake. I mean, customers want to know, even though you might be highly recommended, they still want to know what makes you different, what's your secret sauce, why should I trust you? So we recommend that they build some sort of a company story. And the cool thing is now in this virtual environment, you have the ability to, you know, introduce that story in a presentation in an environment where the customer will listen. But the big challenge is this: it's got to be interactive, it's got to be engaging, and it's got to be an enjoyable experience for the customer, because unfortunately in the virtual world, we're one mouse click away from that meeting ending, and the customer can just say, oh, sorry, you know, I had a problem with my internet. And then they're going to go into the protection program and you're never going to see them again. You don't get that at the kitchen table. They don't say, I'm bored and I'd like you to leave. They just kind of muscle through it and then they don't. So the key challenge in the virtual world is it's got to be an engaging, you know, experience. We got to ask questions, try to use some short video, make it about them, you know, and we can help with that. That's what we want to do.
You know, that's so funny. We even had a family Zoom that went a little too long for us, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I think my internet's going. I gotta go. So I think you're 100% right. That is definitely happening. So how do you, you know, as I want to just kind of click back on what you said about culture too, or your company story, which I kind of just went to culture, but I agree with you. That has been something we've all, you know, every trade show you go to, all the classes, everybody's talking about culture, but it's really more important than ever to be able to show that, you know, taking that time now and making sure that you have, it's not just about the sales side, it's about really what's happening in the company overall for the roofing contractors, and then how that's being put out there, how that's being messaged. And you do a lot on that too. You talk with contractors, right?
Oh yeah. We talk a lot about you know, really coaching to develop talent too. I mean, that's something that I've kind of learned, and if I might, you know, say this, that a lot of the issues that we have from a sales productivity perspective at the customer level is really not the fault so much of the salesperson. And I think that, you know, I've learned that many of our contractor salespeople, they don't wake up on Monday morning and decide how can I lose the sale today, or how can I not be productive. I think a lot of the challenge is that management and ownership are not really good coaches. And what they do is they tend to focus too heavily on the result rather than trying to coach the behaviors that drive the result. So they'll say things like, just close the deal. Yeah, well, we're $1,000 high. Well, sell value.
Yeah.
It's like the sales rep are sitting there like, frustrated and going, dude, if I knew how to sell value, if I knew how to close the deal, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So we try to teach people to create a coaching culture where we teach them to not really necessarily focus on the result. You got to kind of detach from the outcome a little bit. And you got to start to think about what are the specific behaviors that are going to get the salesperson or put the salesperson in the best position to achieve those results. So if we can sort of facilitate, coaching conversations where we're asking questions and we're like trying to help the sales rep self-discover some of the reasons why they are not being effective or some of the changes that they need to make to get to a more effective state, we're going to be a lot more productive in the long run. But again, the challenge is, and this again goes back to, leveraging technology and all the resources that are out there, is our business owners today are wearing so many different hats, and they're so overwhelmed by all the things that they're responsible for, especially the smaller businesses, right? I'm the project manager, I'm the sales manager, I'm the owner, I'm the payroll executive, I'm the guy who does all of our policies and procedures, I'm the marketing guy, I'm the business management. I mean, everything that's involved. And the key is that they want to grow their business, but they can't grow it because they're so overwhelmed with all of the multitasking that they're doing. And unfortunately, that paves the way to coaching, right? I can't coach my salespeople to be better. The idea of me holding a weekly meeting to role play with my salespeople is a challenge because something else isn't going to get done. So we always say, you're absolutely right, something isn't going to get done. So now that's the point for you to hire somebody or delegate, which is an even more scary task. You want me to delegate? It's like, yes, please. Delegate a task. Because it's the only way that you're going to be able to, execute one of those other areas, or you're just going to get sick. It's unhealthy. You can't manage, a life where you're just constantly, running and gunning every day and stress, craziness.
Yeah. No.
So,
But although I'm listening to all of the calls you're taking and doing role playing, you have to be on the phone quite a bit, or I should say on the computer, on video.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool thing that you're doing. And I think you're right. Just working with business. I mean, myself. We had, as an owner of Roofers Coffee Shop, every day I'm like, okay, I need to take the time, I need to make my plans, I need to delegate, I need to work through things. And sometimes I'm really bad at it, and sometimes I'm okay at it. But, I think it's every business has to keep working through that.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually did a webinar. I'm sorry, we just did a webinar recently where because I realized I had done a month and a half or 2 months of all of these different things, company story, pricing strategies, following the sales process, sales coaching, business culture, all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, how are these guys going to manage all this stuff? So then we did recently do when we talked about, strategic planning. How do I determine which of these things I need to execute and build them into a plan? And I actually got a lot of good feedback where people were like, wow, I didn't realize that I could do all those things. Because what we did is we showed them, here's the big elephant that you got to eat. Now we're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces, and then we're going to take those pieces and we're going to execute them month by month in order of importance. And people looked at it and they were like, wow, I didn't realize you could achieve those results by kind of breaking it down like that. They tend to think about it in terms of this big, albatross that we have to sort of get around.
Yeah.
No, just break that down and do a little bit at a time. And as long as you're making progress, you're going to get there,
You're gonna, yes, I agree 100%. And I wanted to go to that. Thank you. This is one of the questions that we did have is people are noticing your webinars. I mean, you're getting a lot of play on them. There's a lot of buzz. And so one of the questions was, what kind of, how is that working? What kind of reaction are you getting from your roofing contractors? And what, maybe a little peek on what's coming up in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, I got to tell you, I've been just humbled by the tremendous support that we're getting from contractors on these webinars that we're doing. And granted, some topics have a higher level of interest than others, but we're seeing numbers in the 250 people to 300 people. I mean, at one point I had to talk to our IT department about getting that next license so that we could get more than 500 people on a webinar. And that's really kind of cool. And that
Yeah.
it helps me feel really good about what I'm doing because I know people are interested in the content. But B, I think it's also just a demonstration of the fact that we've got some really amazing customers out there that are trying to identify opportunities to be a little bit stronger, faster, reduce some headaches, and maybe make a little bit more money, which is something that I think we all want them to accomplish. So our topics have been pretty broad in scope. We've talked a lot about the sales process, going into a virtual environment, creating company story, developing, good, better, best, selling strategies, how to upsell, how to leverage financing. We've invited people in from our organization to talk about things like how to create culture in your organization. We've not really done a lot in terms of product. But we did, like we had Jeff Wisniewski from Giddy Up who came in and talked about, his observations when working with some of the top roofing contractors in the country. What are the silver bullet that he referred to it as that will help them, scale their business. And it was a really powerful topic. What's cool is we get a lot of feedback at the end where people are emailing and saying, hey, can we have a one-on-one to dive a little deeper into that concept? Would you mind sharing a little bit more detail with my team? Can you send me any information on that? So it's good. And I think the key is like at the end of the day, I look forward to the day where I can actually go out and, have a beer with one of these, customers and say, now show me, what you're doing today and that, the type of results that we got from because I want to make sure that this stuff is executed. I mean, yeah, it's great for me to say, oh, I had 300 people on the webinar today. But at the end of the day, if none of them executed any of the concepts, then I take ownership of that. Maybe I didn't communicate that well enough. Maybe I didn't provide enough detail. And one of the things, Heidi, that I try to do that I think makes our stuff a little bit different than a lot of the other stuff that you're going to see when you go to like a lot of the events. We see all these big events. And all these big events, everybody's always there with sort of like their handout trying to sell something. So it's like, hey, I'm here today to talk to you about a training program that if you buy this, you're going to get all this stuff. I try to put so much meat on the bone that when they leave, they've got to have something that they know, here's what I can do right now that's going to help benefit me today. And it's not, I mean, I do literally try to hand them an easy button. As opposed to, buy this program and then we can get back and talk about how we can talk about it. It's like, no. I want you to execute it. I'll send you the file. I'll send you the script. I'll build the training, manual for you because we want our customers to be uber successful. And it's great. Yeah. It's great to work for a company.
I think that
basically lets me have that, ability to do that.
And I think that's the difference right there is that you are creating, I mean, it's just so obvious, but if your contractors are more successful and are doing more jobs and growing their business, of course they're going to grow their business with you and with the manufacturers and with the service providers and everybody else. So I agree 100% that we need to be always, I mean, that's our main focus on Roofers Coffee Shop is how do we help contractors continue to grow their businesses, continuing education, having a little fun, networking, getting to know people. So I think I love that. More meat on the bone. Let's make everybody in this industry successful, which I mean, really watching over the last 10 years, don't you think there's just been this huge, I don't know, it just feels like the embracing technology, progressiveness, really kind of the professionalism of roofing has really just blown up. I mean, it's gone great. It's to a whole new level.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and if you go to the IRE today, the Roofing Expo versus 5 years ago, today you're going to walk the show and just see every other booth is going to be somebody with an app or a new tool or technology that they can use to find business, manage business, grow business. I also want to give credit to the NRCA. I think Reed Ribble, assuming that the position is president of the NRCA, I think that he's worked really hard and his staff has worked tirelessly to help bring some more pride back into the industry. And I think that's really powerful. Reed's an awesome guy, and I think that the things that they're doing today with the pro certification program, and I mean, they've been a tremendous resource with this whole COVID-19 disruption. Their website is just a lighthouse of information. But
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of really good things happening in our industry, and I think it's great. And I mean, even you, I mean, in the Roofers Coffee Shop, I mean, the way that you're bringing information to people and allowing them in a very easy way to sort of, learn about a new concept or idea or tool, and not disrupting their world. So we're even looking at, podcasts too, in terms of some of the things that I'm doing, because it might be hard for me to sit on a cell phone while I'm driving and watch a video, but I can listen.
Right.
And maybe gain a couple of to help me grow. So it's all good.
Well, and that makes me think a little bit too, and this isn't even a question that's on here, but I think it is how we are addressing the generational learning of our industry. I mean, we have, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and the next generation after that, which I can't even remember what they're calling that at this point, but and everybody's learning different. Some still are reading, some are podcast, some want to listen to it, some want to watch it, some want the whole multimedia experience. What are you seeing along that lines? Like how dealing with your contractors on really this generational scope? I loved it earlier. You said the kids are coming in and taking over the business. What are you seeing there?
Well, me being a millennial, it certainly, it's not that funny, actually.
I'm not laughing, really.
I've got to be honest with you. I understand that there's generational gaps, and I know that they process information differently and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's, like the old sales guy in me that is just about, it's still people dealing with people. So from my perspective, and this is the thing that we try to even teach our own salespeople to focus on is, what does the customer want to accomplish? So whether you're a millennial or a Gen X guy or whatever, group you fit in, I'm just all about, trying to ask a lot of questions up front to make sure that I really understand what's happening or not happening, and then kind of use that information, reshape whatever it is that I'm talking about to speak to whatever it is that's, the burning issue for that particular customer or business owner or whomever it is. So I really can't speak to, I know there's people out there that talk about, here's how you communicate with a millennial. I communicate with everybody kind of the same way. I'm not going to suggest that I'm always successful, but it always just starts out with just detaching from the outcome, which is really unfathomable from a sales perspective. The outcome is everything in sales. But I've always found that the more I focus on the customer and what they want and what they need and what's going to help them, paradoxically, that's what creates the result. So I focus on the millennial. What do you want? What do you need to accomplish? Where do you feel that you're struggling? How can we help you, shore up on that weakness? That's what kind of gets it done.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite things to ask is understanding their goals and then saying, how can we help you accomplish those? Right? Isn't that really the end of the day? If we can all help everybody in business accomplish their goals, we're all winning, and we're all making it happen. Okay, we have another question here. Wanted to talk just a little bit about and I know you're really involved in the training and all the cool stuff, but just on a big picture with SRS, with hurricane season coming and with the hailstorms and just going into season. I mean, it's finally, although it's raining here, but the Pacific Northwest is starting to get some sunshine. How are we looking overall for products, materials? What should contractors be doing to prep for the season? And, is there any overlying pandemic along that direction that they should have in, top of mind?
Yeah, I just think right now it's just take advantage of if you're slow right now, take advantage of that to make sure that you've identified all the things that you should be working on today to put you in a position where, when the market does come back, you're able to capitalize on that. I mean, I can tell you that from SRS's perspective, we're still busy. And we are not, we're kind of concerned and wondering are we working off the backlog that existed before COVID-19 kind of hit and before the governor started, locking people down? And how's that going to change, coming into like June and July? But one of the things I can tell you is that we as a company are doing everything that we can to make sure that we're looking out for the safety of our employees and our customers, and that we're doing that in a way that allows us to not just to provide as minimal disruption to our customers as humanly possible. From a material perspective, we know there's a lot of concerns out there about demand, about product availability, and are we going to be positioned to have what we need when things start to get busy? And I can tell you that everything that I'm being told from our leadership team is that that should not be a concern with SRS distribution. We are positioned with inventory, and we're ready to execute. So right now it's just a function of, if you bring us the business, we'll make sure that we do everything we can to get you what you need, when you need it, and where you want it, every time.
I think too, going back to your earlier comment about building relationships, right? It doesn't matter who you have to build relationships. So one of the things we've been talking with contractors about too is, if you didn't, most likely you already had a really good relationship with your distribution branch. But if you do not, you need to be talking to the counter folks, you need to be talking to the managers, and really getting to get ahead of it, making sure, like we had some conversations earlier last month about credit and collections. And really they need to have those relationships, I think, with all their vendors, but especially the wholesaler that they're working with. Do you see that kind of taking a lead?
Yeah, especially with credit and collections, it is way better for you to be, as a customer, to be proactive and sort of, contact us and say, hey, we need to talk about these next couple of months or next month or my current situation. As long as those conversations are taking place, we're going to do everything we can to keep things moving forward. It's when people, sort of go into the witness protection program, it's like we now can't get in touch with you. That's a problem to start, and that's when we start the disruptions, which is something that none of us really wants. So I can tell you this, and one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on at SRS Distribution is the people that we have in our organization. We are 100% committed to the success of our customers, and I think that you'll find that, pound for pound, our people are laser focused on doing whatever we can to help our customers out. So, leverage those relationships. And here's the deal: if you feel that you don't have the relationship with your territory manager or your branch manager to have those conversations, then I would, go up the channel. I'm not suggesting that would be the case, but we've got district managers that are, passionate about your business, and vice presidents that are passionate about your business. And if you want to call me. And I will make sure that we facilitate the right conversations to, making sure everything's going solid.
Yeah, and I really recommend that too. People can't be shy. They have to be a little bit tenacious, and especially during this time, prepping your business. So we do have a question for you, John. Another one here is, and I love this. It's hello from Dallas, because I know that's where you're in Dallas also, right?
I'm in Buffalo, New York, where we had snow last week. But corporately, we're in McKinney, Texas. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you had the polar vortex last week.
It's ridiculous.
Well, Melissa Simon from Dallas. Good morning, Melissa. Thank you so much for the question. She wanted to thank us for the positive and energetic coffee shop this morning. So yeah, it's been really fun, John. But the question for John is, with all the different COVID opening regulations by state, how does SRS continue to manage the constant changes and communicate to the contractors and vendors? For example, Texas is at 25% opening. Oregon State, as we know, is where I'm at, may be at 0%. Is that information on RoofHub?
Whew, that is a really good question, Melissa. I don't know if it's on Roof Hub. I know that when you go to Roof Hub desktop, there's a link on there that lets you know uh, where you can, information, valuable information on the COVID-19. If you go to the srsdistribution.com webpage, right at the top of the page, there's a banner that click on it for
Right.
resources relative to COVID-19. The good news is, as crazy as, and I understand Texas is maybe doing this a little bit better than like New York is, for example. And I can speak from experience because I'm in New York, and I can tell you that some of the things that are happening here are just sort of like, really? We were told yesterday that we're not going to go to phase one because we had 2 people that went to the hospital. It was like, what? So on
Oh
another
my
note,
gosh.
we are an essential business. I mean, I know that we're a business that says that, the whoever it is, Department of Homeland Security claims that hardware stores and people that sell building materials, that is considered essential. So we're open, and we are delivering materials. And I know that our TMs in Dallas are busy. They're
Hmm.
highly engaged. The only time where we would really have an issue where it might be any type of a disruption is if like we had a COVID case at the branch, for example. At that point in time, what we would probably do is we would shut that branch down for 14 days to allow people to go into a self-quarantine. We would bring cleaning crews in to completely disinfect the branch. And again, that's for your safety as a customer as well as it is for the safety of our own people. But we've been pretty blessed as an organization to not have very many of those situations at all. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I mean, if there's a specific question about Dallas, I would just say to you, if you got orders and stuff that you need delivered, bring it on in. Use Roof Hub. We have any order that's shipped and delivered before the end of May. You get a 3% rebate on that, which is pretty cool. We like
Yeah,
it.
that's nice.
So
Wow. Yeah.
take advantage of Roof Hub to place those orders and talk to your salespeople. But you should be good to go in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, and I would also say to Melissa too, along with going to the SRS and checking out the COVID information that's on there, like we talked about earlier, NRCA has a lot of COVID information, and they are working on a national level with RoofPack, and really kind of there's a lot going on there. And then we have, of course, on Roofers Coffee Shop, a full page on COVID that we are still updating. No matter how tired and fatigued we may get, we're still updating it to make sure that all that information's out there. So Melissa, please, yeah, follow up with John, myself, anybody, and we can get you any information you need. So appreciate the question. Thank you so much. And then yeah, we had the next question kind of came in is, and you've kind of answered this, but let's talk about the rest of the year and really coming out of sheltering in and looking at this new normal. What, as contractors are moving forward through the rest of the year, business overall, what do you see? What do you kind of expect, and what should they have top of mind? I mean, as things really start hopefully the jobs start flowing in again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm anticipating that we'd probably see a little bit of a soft, start to the summer. I would think that, right now, depending on where you are, right? Like in New York State, for example, there's been a lot of confusion too about, whether or not a roofing contractor is considered essential or not essential. And, and I think that part of the problem is that the people who are now acting as the enforcers of those guidelines, maybe some of them are, you're not allowed to work and I'm going to steal your license. And it's,
Yeah.
people need to be a little bit more rational in what I mean, I've heard situations of people. We have a contractor in Pittsburgh who was, on a job site, the roof was leaking and the woman who owned the home was really sick and elderly, and he was just there trying to patch up the roof, and next thing you know, he's being told, we're going to take your license and throw you in jail. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Her house has got water pouring into it.
Holy cow.
It was like that kind of stuff where it was like, I think we can all be somewhat rational.
Yeah, exactly.
We think right now that a lot of our customers are probably working off some of the backlogs that they had in a retail environment. If you're a retail residential roofing contractor, you're probably working off some of the backlog that you've started to grow in, January, February, and March. Hopefully today we're doing our best to sort of, capture some leads. I think that the state of the economy is probably going to challenge us because we don't know, how the market's going to fare. I mean, when we come out of this, as businesses start to open, as the government is trying to keep the economy moving, are people going to be in a position where they can afford to get their roof fixed? The good news is that roofing isn't one of those things that people can kind of play with. If it's leaking, I'm probably going to want to get this thing taken care of. It's not like we're going to see kitchen. I think today is a good day to remodel my kitchen. That stuff they might be putting off a little bit. So I would encourage you, if you're not linked up with a financing tool right now, team up with somebody on the financing side to help you reduce the pain of buying today. And again, and I get into these conversations with contractors all the time on this, please don't assume that because they have a home equity loan or they have a credit card with a zero balance on it, that they want to use it to fund your project. I would strongly suggest that you figure out what type of financing company you're going to work with, choose 3 highly targeted financing options that you're going to provide them. And I would provide those options on every project, every proposal, every time. Because my feeling is this, is when the homeowner sees the payment, all of a sudden then they're looking at, if I see 3 different payment options, I'm then deciding for myself, which of these 3 payments works best for me? And what I'm doing is I'm shifting the mindset of, should I buy a new roof or not buy a new roof? I'm shifting that mindset to which of these 3 options do I want? And if I choose the $200 a month option, I'm making a choice. And you've also allowed them to not have to worry about cash today. They don't have to worry about that zero balance credit card that they're saving for emergencies. They still have that. Now they're using your money or the financing company's money to finance a project. So I didn't mean to turn it into a financing thing, but I do think we do need to be concerned about the mindset of our customer. And as much as they want to get that roof replaced, should I do that today? Should I use my money to do that? My assertion is no, you shouldn't use your money to do that. You should use the roofer's financing company's money to do that. We're also seeing too on a storm side that some of our storm restoration contractors are leveraging financing to say to their customers, hey, we know that cash is important right now. If you'd like, I could finance the roofing project and you can keep your insurance check. And then if they want to or choose to, 6 months down the road or a year down the road, if they want to just take that insurance check that they've been holding just for emergencies and then use it to pay down or pay off the loan, there's no cost to doing that. There's no prepayment penalties. So it really, puts the customer the homeowner in a really good position where they can, afford to get the project done and do it in a way where I don't feel like I'm overextending myself and being, irresponsible or frivolous. So I know you asked me a question and I tend to go all the way around here, but I think number one, we need to make sure that we're offering a vehicle that allows the homeowner to do business with us easily. And then reduces the concern and of what is the economy going to hold for me, and can I afford and should I do this? You should. It's your roof. It needs to be.
I think you answered that question perfect. Actually, I think that's because I asked for that one thing, what should you be doing or what should you be thinking about going into this new normal and going forward? And so I'm just going to say to everyone who's listening now and in the future on demand, if you're going to take one thing away from this conversation today, that's the thing I would take, is get your financing and put it on every bid. I love that, John. I think that, and I think about all the times in my life where I thought, oh, okay, I can do 24 months, 0%. I can figure that out. I mean, all of a sudden you're right. Your mind just goes that direction. And all of a sudden it's not about whether you should do it or not. It's about, oh, how should I do it? So I think that is phenomenal.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer from a stress perspective. I mean, is it more stressful for the consumer to look at an $11,000 or $12,000 roof price or a payment of $189 a month? They can look at the $189 and think, I can make that work. That's reasonable.
Right, and I'm safe.
Freaked out by the $12,000,
Yeah. Well, and I think there's just going to be this mentality of us all sheltering in that it kind of a little bit of our fight or flight is coming in, right? Or our protectiveness of we got to make sure our home is safe. We need a safe place in all this craziness. So for me, I look at the future and I think roofing is going to be even more important as long as we're messaging it the right way and sharing the protection element and how important it is. You know, you don't want a poor lady having water come into her house. It's just, we need to not, that shouldn't be happening. So I guess I would just like to say, because we're almost at the end of our time, so last notes from you, John. Any notes to the contractors or anything that you want to make sure to get out there to them?
Yeah, I would just encourage you guys that if you have any questions or concerns or anything that you want to discuss as it relates to sales or selling or lead generation or your business, you know, utilize me as a resource, and we'll do whatever we can to help you guys. I mean, we're finding now that given the whole, you know, social distancing norm, that it's actually kind of productive. We all jump on a webcam, like, you know, Heidi and I are on right now, you and your team, me, and they ask questions, and we just hold like these sort of virtual coaching clinics that are really designed to identify what are the specific things that you and your team need to work on, and then let's follow up 60 or 30 days from now to see, you know, who's executed those ideas and who's prepared, and we just kind of build on that. And whether it's talking about how do we leverage financing, how do we tell our company story, how do we overcome objections, how do we ask for the sale, you know, that's something that we really, it's fun for me to do, and I think it'll be very productive, you know, for you and your team. And the only other thing I'd like to just add is for those of you on the call who are customers of SRS Distribution, I just want to thank you guys for your support of us. We work really hard, and we care very much about our customers. And I know that seems sort of like buzzwords and cliche to say that, but we really do. And I think that if you went through our organization in McKinney, Texas, or any of our branches, you know, around the country, and there's 279 of them, you'd find that there's people in there that are, you know, deeply committed to the customer, and we really, really appreciate your support of us, and look forward to the success that we're going to enjoy together as we move through this crisis and on to bigger and better things in our businesses. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here today. And I have to tell you, as always, I learned some things. You gave me some great stuff. I'm like going, okay, I gotta I'm making notes here so that we can share those. We need to get some of that out on articles on Coffee Shop from SRS. And so for everybody out there, if you want to hear more about the great information and education and coaching that John offers, John and I also did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and that's on the Coffee Shop. We're going to do another one. We just were talking about it. I'm not going to totally give it away, but we have another one coming up that we have a great idea on. And also the directory, the SRS directory, all the articles that come in. The webinars are all listed there that we talked about earlier. So you can find all of that on the Coffee Shop, or of course on the SRS website. So John, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. It's great.
And I appreciate all of you who have been listening and who have been on the call. Thank you so much. So next week, so John, it's going to be somebody from your part of the country, Greta with Golden Roofing Company. I don't think I said that 100% right, but we'll have that out there. But Greta, I have known her for a while. Millennial, owns her own business. She's the treasurer on NERCA. So she's one of the first women to be on the board, the executive team of NERCA. She's going to be on next week speaking, and taking questions about her business, what she's seeing, and she's writing. We're also having some articles on the site from her. She's doing some great things with GAF. So I would really recommend everybody be here next week. Really listening to Greta is going to be incredible. I'm just very inspired by her. So John, thank you. Thank you everybody for listening, and have a great week.
Thank you. You too.